Hello, today I will be explaining how cellular respiration and photosynthesis work step by step and what their inputs and outputs are. These two processes are basically opposites, but they depend on each other to keep all living things alive. Photosynthesis happens inside plant cells in structures called chloroplast. It has two main parts. It has two main parts: the light-dependent reactions and the light-independent reactions, also known as the Calvin cycle. Light-dependent reactions. The light-dependent reaction. The light-dependent reactions take place in, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, membranes. Their main inputs in light, energy, and water, H2O. When sunlight hits the chloroplast, the photosynthesis absorbs the light and uses the energy to split water molecules into oxygen, protons, and electrons. The oxygen is released into the air. That's the oxygen we breathe. The electrons travel through a chain to photosystem 1, where they get re-engaged, re-energized by more light. These reactions produce two important energy molecules, ATP and ADPH, which the plant will use in the next step. ATP synthase. During this stage, ATP synthase is a special enzyme acts like a spinning turbine as hydrogen ions move through it. ATP synthase combines ADP and photostate to make ATP the main energy currency for cells. The Calvin cycle, light-independent reactions. Next comes the Calvin cycle, which happens in the stroma of chloroplast. The inputs are carbon dioxide, CO2 from the air, along with the ATP and NADPH made in the previous step. Using the materials, the Calvin cycle builds glucose, C6H12O6, a simple sugar that stores chemicals. Energy, the output are glucose and water. So overall, the full process of photosynthesis takes light, water, and carbon dioxide and produces glucose and oxygen. Now let's talk about cellular respiration, which happens mainly in the mitochondria of both plant and animal cells. Its job is to make that glucose and oxygen made by photosynthesis and convert them to usable energy in the form of ATP. There are two main types: aerobic respiration, which needs oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, which happens without oxygen. Aerobic cellular respiration has three main stages: glycolysis, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, the Krebs cycle, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, and the electron transport chain, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. The first step is glycolysis, which happens in the crypto, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, outside the mitochondria. The input is one molecule of glucose. During the thing I cannot pronounce, glucose is broken down into two smaller molecules called something I cannot pronounce. The outputs are 2 ATP, 2 NADH, and 2 something I cannot pronounce. If oxygen is available, these something I cannot pronounce move into mitochondria for the next steps. The Krebs cycle, the citric acid cycle. The Krebs cycle takes place in the mitochondria matrix. The inputs are provides from glucoses. These are broken down completely, releasing carbon dioxide, CO2 as waste product. The output, which includes 2 ATP, NADH, and FADH2, which are energy carriers used for the next stage. electron transport chain. The electron transport chain happens on the inner membrane of this mitochondria. The inputs NADH and FADH and oxygen O2. Electrons move through the series of protons which pump hydrogen ions to create a gradient. Then ATP synthesis use the gradient to make about 34 ATP molecules. At the end, oxygen combines the electrons and hydrogen to form water, H2O. So the outputs are ATP and water. After aerobic and cellular respiration produces up to 38 ATPs per glucose. Anaerobic respiration has no oxygen available. The cell anaerobic respiration, also called firm something. The input is still glucose, but instead of going into the mitochondria, it stays in the cytoplasm. In animals, it produces lactic acids into ATP. In yeast, it produces alcohol, carbon dioxide into ATP. So in summary, photosynthesis input, light, water, carbon dioxide, outputs glucose and oxygen. Cellular respiration inputs glucose, oxygen, outputs ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. Thank you.